All right, let's dive in. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the hidden rules that pretty much run our world, from massive corporate decisions to our own personal lives. We're talking about the science of strategy itself, game theory. So have you ever seen this happen and just scratched your head? I mean, it seems completely illogical, right? You've got two companies, maybe two gas stations on the same corner, just slashing prices, torching their own profits, when they would both be way better off just keeping things stable. This isn't just a weird business quirk, it's a classic strategic puzzle. And this is where game theory comes in. It's the key that unlocks these kinds of dilemmas. Think of it as a powerful lens for looking at any situation where your best move is tied to what somebody else is going to do. And here's the critical assumption. We're dealing with rational players, people who are always trying to get the absolute best outcome for themselves.
Okay, so before we can predict how a game will play out, we first need to understand its basic rules. You'll find that pretty much every strategic interaction, or game, is built from the same core parts.
First up, you've got the players. These are your decision makers. Each player has a set of possible strategies, which are just all the different actions they can take. Now, for every combination of strategies, there's a payoff. That's the outcome, the reward, or maybe the punishment. And finally, you have the game structure, which is just the rules of engagement, like who moves first or how much information everyone has. And this right here is how we map it all out. It's called a payoff matrix, and it is the single most important tool in game theory. It's actually super simple to read. Player 1's choices are on the side, player 2's choices are up top. Want to see an outcome? You just find where their choices intersect. So, for example, if player 1 goes with strategy X and player 2 picks strategy A, this top left box tells us exactly what happens to both of them. It lets us see the entire game in a single snapshot.
So now that we have the building blocks, we can get to the main goal of game theory, which is trying to predict the final outcome. And the way we do that is by finding a point of stability, an equilibrium, where the game is most likely to settle down.
This stable point has a famous name, the Nash Equilibrium, named for the brilliant mathematician John Nash. The best way to think about it is as the point of no regrets. Once all the players have made their moves and landed in a Nash Equilibrium, nobody can look back and say, man, I wish I'd done something different. Given what everyone else did, they each made the absolute best move for themselves.
And now, this is where it gets really fun. Let's see how all these concepts actually play out in a few classic, high-stakes games that, honestly, model the kinds of conflicts we see all around us every single day.
We have to start with the most famous game of all, the prisoner's dilemma. This single scenario perfectly captures that constant tension between doing what's best for you as an individual versus what would be best for the group as a whole. Okay, look at this matrix. You've got two prisoners questioned in separate rooms. If they both cooperate with each other and stay silent, they each get just 1 year in jail. Great outcome. But the temptation to defect, to betray the other, is massive. If prisoner A confesses while B stays silent, A walks free. So, from A's perspective, no matter what B does, confessing is always the better move. And the exact same cold logic applies to B. So what's the result? They both confess and they both get 2 years. That's the Nash Equilibrium. It's a stable outcome, but it's clearly worse for both of them than if they had just found a way to trust each other.
Next up, we have the game of chicken. This is all about high-stakes confrontations and brinksmanship, the kind of stuff you see in political standoffs, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've got two players driving straight at each other. The first one to swerve is the chicken. But if neither of them swerves, they both crash. The worst possible outcome for everyone. Now, this slide is really interesting because it lays out these different strategic problems side by side. We just talked about the prisoner's dilemma, where your own rational self-interest can lead to a bad result for the group, and the game of chicken, that high-stakes battle of wills to avoid total disaster. This table also shows a third classic, the battle of the sexes. Here, two people want to hang out together, but one wants to go to the opera and the other wants to go to a football game. The conflict isn't about betrayal, it's about coordination. The worst outcome is they can't agree, and both end up staying home alone. Each game reveals a totally different slice of our strategic lives.
So here's the crucial point, the real takeaway from all of this. Understanding the game and predicting the outcome, that's one thing, but the real power, that comes when you learn how to actually change the rules of the game itself. And you can actually do it. Here's a practical 4-step framework. Step 1, define the game. Who's playing? What are the moves? Step 2, figure out the payoffs. What does everyone want? Step 3, anticipate their rational moves to see where things are headed, to find that likely equilibrium. And then, if that outcome is bad for you, you move to the most important step. Step 4,
Change the game. Maybe you introduce a contract to escape a prisoner's dilemma. Maybe you build a reputation for being tough to win a game of chicken. You find a way to alter the payoffs or the rules.
And this quote just says it all. The ultimate lesson of game theory is this: the best strategists aren't just reacting. They're not just playing the game they're handed. They become architects. They redesign the game so that their desired outcome becomes the rational choice for everyone else involved.
And that brings us to the final question, one for you to really think about. As you face these strategic situations in your own career, in your personal life, are you just playing by the existing rules, or are you actively looking for ways to redesign the game to create better outcomes for yourself and maybe for everyone? Something to think about.